Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we'll be doing more on the executive branch of the United States. I hadn't forgot all these. It just took me a while to get back around. I'll be coming back around to the Supreme Court as well, so don't think I forgot about that either, even though it's been a while since I posted one. Anyway, we're doing the executive branch. The first two videos we talked about what was sort of the faux presidents and the locations of the U.S. capitals and everything. After the U.S. gains its independence, there are elections held in 1788 and 1789, and the winner of those first elections are George Washington, who had served as general of the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War. He had just led, America to its independence. So, him winning on April the 30th, 1789, he takes his oath of office as the first president in the United States while standing on the balcony of Federal Hall on Wall Street in New York. Now remember, the U.S. Capitol was still in New York. We wouldn't go to D.C. for a while yet, but we have our first actual executive branch: president, vice president, and his cabinet. The first president, of course, is George Washington. He serves 2 terms, being elected in 1789, and again, I think it was 92. Let's see. Well, 1788 and 1792 is when he's elected, but he takes office in 89 and 93. There we go. That's what I was trying to verify there. But Washington is our first president. He has one vice president who stays with him through both terms for all 8 years, and that is John Adams. Now, the actual cabinet members, his first Secretary of State was John Jay, who was Secretary of State for a very short period, serving only from 1789 and into 1790. And you'll remember John Jay is also the first Supreme Court Chief Justice. So yeah, John Jay is the first Secretary of State. The first Secretary of the Treasury is Alexander Hamilton. He also takes office in 1789, but serves a lot longer, serving until 1795. So he serves most of Washington's term. the first Secretary of War is Henry Knox, who takes the position in 1789 and serves until 1794. And the first Attorney General is Edmund Randolph, who takes the position in 1789 until 1794. So you have only 4 cabinet members: State, Treasury, War, and Attorney General. They are John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, Henry Knox, and Edmund Randolph. Now, the first change we see is in Secretary of State. Because remember, John Jay was only there for about a year or so. 1790, Thomas Jefferson becomes the Secretary of State and is there until 1793. So yeah, Thomas Jefferson. Then the next change we see would be a lot. Jefferson leaves as Secretary of State. Edmund Randolph, who's the Attorney General, moves over to become the next Secretary of State, serving 1794 to 1795. And replacing Randolph as Attorney General is William Bradford, 1794 to 1795. Also, as Secretary of War, we have a new one for a year, Timothy Pickering, just in 1795. And then the next big shakeup is we have Randolph leave as Secretary of State, and Pickering, who was the Secretary of War, moves on to be the final Secretary of State under George Washington from 1795 to 1797. Let's see. And Alexander Hamilton leaves as Secretary of Treasury and is replaced by Oliver Wolcott Jr., who serves out the rest of the term, 1795 to 1797. And William Bradford leaves as Attorney General and is replaced by Charles Lee, who served 1795 to 1797. And replacing Pickering as Secretary of War in 1796 is James McHenry, 1796 to 1797, concluding all the members of the Washington cabinet. So we have Washington as president, Adams as vice president, 4 Secretary of States, John Jay, Thomas Jefferson, Edmund Randolph, Timothy Pickering, 2 Secretary of the Treasuries, Alexander Hamilton, Oliver Wolcott Jr., 3 Secretary of Wars, Henry Knox, Timothy Pickering, and James McHenry, and 3 Attorney Generals, Edmund Randolph, William Bradford, and Charles Lee. And these would conclude who all serves George Washington and John Adams as the members of the cabinet. In the next episode, we'll take a quick look at each member and a bit about them. And I'll try to keep it somewhat brief. But yeah, that will end this episode, though. I'll list the sources in the description below the video, but as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources, just as I will have the sources cited for this video. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.